Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Amanda and this is a vlog of my late autism and ADHD diagnosis experience. And I talk about a couple other things too along the way. I'm kind of laughing at myself as I start this video. You can find, I have a whole video on how I don't think that ADHD people can create habits, and I've heard other people talking about this. This isn't just my own theory. There is some research done on it, but not enough yet. But I've been on YouTube now for like well over 3 years, I think, maybe close to 4. And I almost started this video without putting my mic on. It is not a habit. I have to think about like the steps of like, okay, we're going to do this and this and this, and like every single step I have to actually think about because it's not a habit. And I won't redo that video this time, but yeah, go check it out on my ADHD playlist. That I don't think ADHD people can form habits, but that's not what this video is going to be about. I kind of want to do a little life update, but maybe I'll do that towards the end. I was talking to my therapist yesterday. Wow, that was yesterday. Again, ADHD time blindness. It feels like it was a long time ago, but yesterday morning I had a session with my therapist that went really well. And in it, I was talking about the unmasking process and how interesting it is to talk to autistic people versus allistic people. Allistic just means not autistic. And this also kind of goes to ADHD people also. The Venn diagram of like overlapping traits between autism and ADHD, there's a lot of commonalities. So I'm going to stick with autism, but a lot of this conversation applies to ADHD people too. As I've been unmasking autism, one of the things that I have been working towards is something that I call, and I've heard other people refer to this too, internalized neurotypical or internalized allistic speech. And I'm going to explain what that means. Basically, allistic people tend to talk around a subject. They use a lot of euphemisms. They talk between the lines. That's just a natural way for them to communicate. But autistic people tend to use much more precise, literal language, and we can also tend to be much more blunt and to the point when we're talking about things. We're very direct. Is kind of like our native way of talking. So because I wasn't diagnosed as a child though, I started masking my autistic way of thinking and speaking. Obviously all subconscious, didn't know I was doing this, but over time, I started to learn and internalize neurotypical speech. So even though it's not natural to me, it's almost like a second language you learn. I've learned the patterns and how to talk around subjects. And it can be really confusing to tease out the difference as you're unmasking, because in some spaces, the ability to mask and appear neurotypical can actually be a benefit to autistic people, even though masking isn't good for our brains. Sometimes masking gets us through a situation with less stress and anxiety than if we go in unmasked. And obviously this is for the type of people, the type of autistic people who can code switch. I have a video on code switching too. Basically, as we're unmasking, we can learn to choose to mask, which is code switching, versus before I was diagnosed, I couldn't choose to mask. I was always masked because I didn't know I was even masking. Some autistic people do. Again, anything that I say, we're all unique and individual. So it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. But a lot of autistic people, such as myself, did not know we were masking before our diagnosis. When we got diagnosed and we started learning about autism and we learned about masking, it was like, wow, okay, yes, I see that that's what I've been doing all these years. And then we work to unmask. And part of that is to learn to speak in an autistic way. So I was talking to my therapist and I came up with what I think is a pretty cool analogy. So, of course, there's autistic people around the world, but I speak English. So in this example, I'm going to use English and Spanish just to stick to like a specific thing for an analogy. Okay, so let's say that you and your family are Mexican and you live in Mexico, but your parents are bilingual. They can speak English and Spanish, but because y'all live in Mexico, y'all are speaking Spanish, right? You can hear my Texan coming out, y'all. So you grow up and all your neighbors, your parents, everybody is speaking Spanish. You're speaking Spanish. But you move to the United States when you're 5. And so your parents to now like help you support to learn more English, start speaking English with you because that's what you're going to be speaking at school. So now all of a sudden you're speaking mostly English, and even at home your parents are now speaking English with you. You probably speak Spanish sometimes, right? Because you do know that language, but it's not now your main language because you've moved to an area where there's more English. And let's say you go through school and you're speaking English mostly all the way along. And then let's say as you graduate from college, perhaps you meet somebody who is Spanish speaking, and you are really excited because they're mostly talking to you in Spanish. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this feels really good. I like this because it's tickling that part of your brain from your native language. And you're going to be really rusty at first, like your Spanish isn't that great, but you do know Spanish. And the more you talk with this person, the more of your Spanish comes back. And it feels good. It feels authentic. All of a sudden you feel like you can communicate in a more natural way. And it's just like, it's so exciting and you love talking to this person in Spanish. So that's kind of what it is like to unmask autism for some people like myself. And if this isn't your experience, that's okay. Like I said before, we're all very different, but I think this is going to sound familiar to a lot of people. So when I'm talking to another person who's autistic, who is also working on unmasking, or maybe they were diagnosed a long time ago and they've been unmasked for a long time, and we both know that we are going to be direct with each other. We are not having to talk in euphemisms. We can just say what we want to say plainly. It is like relaxing to my brain. It is like my native language coming out again. It feels good to talk and not have to worry and like, ooh, am I saying this right or not, right? And when I'm talking to an allistic person, if they don't know I'm autistic, then all of a sudden I'm doing what I was talking about before, code switching, because I'm now trying to make them more comfortable because they don't know anything about how I'm talking. And if I talk autistic, I'm going to be called rude, too blunt, that I don't have empathy, all of these things. And so that can be a struggle. Now, if I'm talking to an allistic friend who knows I'm autistic, then I can be myself more because they have understood and learned a little bit about how autistic people talk. And they now have to do some mental work to try to make our conversation equal. And they know that if I say something that comes across blunt, they now have to do the mental work to go, she probably didn't mean it rude. She was probably just being autistic blunt. Okay, I can accept that, right? And then if I'm talking to an autistic person who they aren't diagnosed yet, but they're probably autistic, their native language might be that blunt speak. And I might start talking to them. But because they've internalized allistic neurotypical speech so much, sometimes those people can be really tricky because all of a sudden you're talking and you're kind of like vibing that they're autistic, but they start to get offended because they have internalized the social constructs around neurotypical speech, such as, don't be blunt, use euphemisms. one that came up the other day is a lot of times people will say that somebody is slow when they really mean they're stupid. And if you're not going to call somebody stupid to their face, then don't call them slow, meaning that they're stupid. I mean, don't call anybody stupid anyway, but that was just a conversation that came up the other day. So it's a euphemism. People will say, oh yeah, they're a little slow. But what they're trying not to say is, oh, I think they're stupid. And so that is one way an allistic person will try to be nice about something when they're just like hiding what they really mean. Another big conversational difference between allistic and autistic people is that an autistic person, when we are sharing a story, if we're talking to another autistic person or ADHD person, they're most likely going to share a relatable story. And that lets us know that we are talking about the same thing. Like, yes, we're on the same track. You are understanding my emotions and feelings around this big story that I'm sharing. Allistic people don't do that. Allistic people feel like if you share a relatable story, you're trying to steal the stage. And that's not what autistic people are doing. We're vibe checking. But when an allistic person is sharing like a heartfelt moment, what they do for each other is they say things like, oh yeah, that sounds really hard, or that's really frustrating. Oh, I can't imagine something like that. You know, thank you for sharing that with me. And to them, that is showing empathy and understanding. To an autistic person, a lot of times, when an allistic person says those things to me, like if I share a big heartfelt story and you don't share a relatable story back, you just say, oh, I'm listening. That sounds really frustrating. To my brain, it sounds condescending. I hear it as like, oh, that sounds really hard. And like, it comes across as condescending to me. And I have to do that mental work to be like, okay, like that allistic person is empathizing, because that's how they talk and how they empathize. So the whole point being, as I'm unmasking, I'm learning these different conversation and communication styles. But when I can talk to another autistic person and they are talking back without internalized neurotypical speech, it is like my brain can relax and feel really good. That doesn't mean that it's not worth talking to allistic people. I have some really good allistic friends. It's just the conversation, the way that we communicate really is different, and it takes different kinds of work to talk to different people. Okay, 2 quick little life updates, nothing big. One is I want to share because I know that a lot of autistic people don't like change. So I'm going to prep you up a little bit that I'm pretty sure, I'm like 98% sure I'm going to be chopping off my hair. So I love my curls. I love them so much. They are a lot of work, but my hair is getting really long and I love it. Okay. And I know a lot of y'all love my hair too. And that's like makes me feel so good. So I appreciate all the compliments when I get them on my hair. But other than when I'm making videos, 98% of the rest of my life, my hair is up in this bun like I've been wearing through this whole video. And I'm just kind of tired of my bun. So I think I'm going to do a big chop. It's been about 16, 17 years. I think I cut it really short the last time, right before my kids were born. I've had it at my chin length a couple times since then. My hair grows really fast. But I'm actually thinking about doing some kind of pixie cut. So I just want to prep y'all because I think that's coming. I have an appointment booked for October 16th. And right now I'm like spending a lot of time looking at different hairstyles to see, but I'm pretty sure that's coming. My ADHD is just ready for some change. The hard part is I don't like hair on my neck or ears. So trying to find a really cute style, that works, that is shorted. Like I don't want hair on my ears or my neck too much. So that's my biggest challenge. I'm trying to like find a cute hairstyle. The second little life update is, I think I've mentioned in previous videos that I like hurt my back really bad a couple weeks ago, and I've been dealing with immense pain levels. But I've been going to a new PT physical therapist, and she has been amazing, like so good. I feel like I made a whole video about this. If y'all know, I have a memory disorder also. And so right now I'm trying to even remember if I made a video on this. I'd have to go back and look. I'm not going to do that right now. Oh, this is when it drives me crazy. This is y'all seeing my memory disorder affect me in real life. Like I literally cannot remember if I talked about this in a video, and it would have been just recently because I've only started seeing her like 2 weeks ago. Anyway, if you have more questions about my memory disorder, I have a whole playlist on it. Anyway, she's been great, and like I've only been going, like I said, a couple weeks, and I'm already seeing amazing results. And so I'm very excited because I was at my peak fitness, like so like feeling really good before my foot injury. And then y'all can see about 1.5 years ago, I had foot surgery, and ever since then, I did not heal correctly all the way. And because of that, my movement has gone from very, very, very active person to barely moving at all, which has meant I've gained a lot of weight, which is putting, because I have chronic pain, it's making my joints flare up even more. So I am really excited to be working with this physical therapist and getting back to movement that feels good for my body. Saying that, I feel like those are things that I've recently said in a video. So I think there is a more in-depth video on this physical therapist. I think it was right as maybe I'd only seen her once. But now a couple weeks in, I'm already seeing improvements, and it's just like, yes, I'm so excited. As you could tell, like, hopefully, like I feel like I'm more animated because my pain is lower than it has been for several weeks. So makes a big difference in how you communicate, at least for me. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. We just hit 31,000 followers on the channel, which means the world to me. So keep sharing, liking, commenting, all of that. It is my goal. Like it's inconceivable to me, but it is my goal to hit 100,000 subscribers on the channel, because the more people who, you know, learn about autism and how autism affects people and relationships and all of that, the better. So again, bye guys.